welcome to Beyond the Pour, crafted by California Tastings. I'm Nilu, your sommelier host, uncorking stories from visionary sommeliers, winemakers, chefs, mixologists shaping our world. And today I get to chat with Master Sommelier Matthew Citriglia. He is currently the Director of Education at Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits in Florida. From helping his dad in his dad's beverage store to choosing electrical engineering as his degree, but not quite loving it, and then deciding wine may be a better option. This is a story of a challenging, passionate path to becoming a master sommelier, and I'm so excited to have Matt here talking with us. Welcome to Beyond the Pour, Matt.
Thank you, Nilo. That's great to be here, and I appreciate and I'm honored that you asked me to come on and have a little chat. So
Oh
here I
my
am.
gosh, absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for, I know you're busy, so I really appreciate it. Um, so Matt, you are the first master sommelier that I'm interviewing. And it is super cool to be able to have this conversation. So I kind of started this podcast thinking, why not just like if people can learn from each other and we can have a conversation and sometimes we learn what could be coming up in the industry and this and that. And I believe there are only 170 master sommeliers in the United States, if I'm not mistaken,
Probably,
and
yeah.
279 in the world. So this is such an incredible it just blows my mind because I know how hard it is to get there. But I'd love to start just by asking you a little bit about the days you were in your dad's shop and you were stocking for him and he was in the beverage world, I believe. And
Yes.
how was that? How old were you? Where were you living? And tell us about that whole thing where it started.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in a very small little town east of Cleveland called Mentor, Ohio, and my dad had a little gas station beverage store when, there was full service gas stations around. So I would pump gas. And then, I was doing that since I was 13 years old, pumping gas and then carrying packages out to people's car because the beverage store was in the building right next to the gas station, right? And as I got older, I started ringing up, selling wine, stocking shelves, doing the inventory and that kind of stuff at a very, very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was always fascinated watching my father, make decisions on buying wine. And with salespeople that would come in and taste wines at the time out of brown paper bags and plastic glasses because glassware was very different back then, right? But he had a small little store. It was only like 400 square feet, and at the time, I didn't fully understand or appreciate what was in the store. But if you were to look at the shelves, you would see, classified growth Bordeaux. You would see,
Wow.
great German wines from Bernkasseler Doctor, right? Monte Vertani's first vintage from Italy. So all kinds of like really, really cool eclectic stuff. But it was, back then it was well cheap in today's world, right? Because I remember selling a bottle of
Yeah.
Lafite $49 a bottle, and Montevertini Le Pergola Torte was $12 a bottle, right? But you don't, and at the time, I just didn't understand what any of this stuff was because I was just, a young kid, and I was just helping, out my dad and, filling cases and walking them out the door to the doctors and the attorneys and those people that didn't want to get their
Gosh.
hands dirty pumping their gas, right? So I pumped their gas and uh, carried out a
Did
case of
I
water.
did I hear right? Like that was the lineup he had in his kind of store, the gas station store? That kind
Yeah,
of wine.
yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it
So
was
so
not your typical gas station store. I mean, my dad
yeah,
had a great passion for wine
yeah.
um, that he developed while while he was while he was running the beverage store, and then became a managing partner of it, and began to understand, oh, we can make a lot more money if we sell these styles of wine
Yeah.
versus the big 4 liter Hardy Burgundy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I hope you've kept some of those. That's pretty cool. To have those kind of bottles. So obviously that wasn't the time where you got excited about wine or anything because you didn't know what these bottles were.
Didn't
So
really know. I mean, by the time I was 17, I began to know what they were.
yeah, yeah,
And I also discovered that because he also had a huge imported beer selection. So as a minor drinking, I realized very quickly when I went to a party, if I brought in a 6 pack of Macus and Triple Stout, I didn't have to worry about anybody stealing my beer, right?
nobody knew what it was, right?
They know what it
You're
was, and then as soon as they picked it up and tried it, they're like, "No."
And
So,
we're not telling your dad about this at all. That
no.
used to take him to the parties there. So fast forward and you go to college and where in the same area kind of thing or somewhere
Yeah,
else out of
I just went
state.
to the local community college in Cleveland State for engineering, and at the time, and while I was going to college, I was still working at the gas station and the beverage store to pay my way
Yeah.
through college. Um,
Oh wow.
and so that, yeah, that's how you did it. So actually, I had
Sure.
several jobs at the time, working for my dad, working for a light shop, working for a variety of other people. Uh, Picking up shifts wherever I could pick up shifts. I wasn't in the restaurant business yet. I was still in some version of retail, whether it was with my dad or at another retail shop in the area, just trying to
Yeah.
figure things out, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so how far into college did you decide, you know what, I'm not loving this?
My last
Electrical.
year, when I was,
Yeah.
back then, they didn't have like the apprenticeship programs that they do today, right? But you
Yeah.
start, when you're in your fourth year, you start interviewing for jobs, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was in
Mm-hmm.
my third quarter, and I started interviewing for jobs. I'm sorry, the last semester, not quarter, the last semester, and I started interviewing for jobs, and I began to realize, wow, this is what engineering really is. I mean, I was good at math and doing all the work
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah.
And then I realized that you're sitting behind a desk under fluorescent
Oh,
lights in a windowless
yeah.
room from nine to
Shoot.
five. And it
I
just,
can't. I
and then
can't.
feeling,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
interviewing with some of these engineers, their personalities were such like, I couldn't really connect with them. And so I wasn't sure what I was going to do.
Mm.
And it just, tragically, but simultaneously happened. And my dad was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh no.
So he ended up passing away at the time that I'm trying to figure out what to do with college. And so
Mm.
when he passed, actually before he passed, because he was in the hospital, I just started running the beverage store and the gas
Right.
station.
Yeah.
Um, and then once he passed away, a very good buddy of mine, Bob Huffgard, and I, drinking one night, he's like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." He goes, "Why don't we buy the beverage store, from your dad's managing partner? Forget about the gas station. We just open up a full-fledged wine shop." And I'm
Oh
like, "Sure,
gosh.
that sounds like a great idea."
Yeah, why not? Right? Why not?
So
And you knew enough about it by then, so it wasn't a crazy thing to think
Yeah.
about.
The thing is that I knew, I mean, I knew how to sell. I was certainly,
Yeah.
even though I was only 21 at the time, I had already learned how to begin to sell wine. But I was afraid of the business piece. But my buddy Bob was a businessman. He understood the business aspect of it. So he really ran the back of the house, and I tried to run the front of the house. And it worked out really well, for a shoestring budget for 4 years. We dramatically expanded the store and got a great lesson in business,
Right.
better lesson in business than we would have ever gotten out of college, right? We learned about
Oh,
uh,
100%.
we learned about what undercapitalization was, and how if you're undercapitalized, how you can't really grow a business. And our business was growing so fast. Like we in less than 4 years, we took what was basically doing about $200,000 a year in wine to $1 million a year in wine.
From that store,
And
in
from
that
that,
store.
well, not in that store, we moved it down the road, right?
Oh, down
And
the road. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And in turn,
Wow.
built a whole gourmet food, prepared foods to go section along with it, which was, we were on the bleeding edge of technology, not the cutting edge, because we were too
Yeah.
far ahead. Um,
But was it a spot where like, some freeways, highways, there's nothing, and then suddenly you see a store, everybody's going to stop there. Was it like a really great
No, no, no.
location?
Mentor was
No.
kind of a burgeoning tiny city
Yeah.
at the time. There's probably 300,000 people that lived there at that time. It's much
Right.
bigger now, but then it was different. So there was a good number of people
Right.
there. There was really only one other serious wine shop in the area. So yeah, there's plenty of business to go around. But
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you're undercapitalized, you're still undercapitalized. And we had a gentleman that came in and saw what we were doing, really liked the business model, and but we were looking for more investors because we couldn't figure out how to make a profit on the thing. And he's like, "Well, how about if I just buy it from you?" And so
I
he
just buy
ended
it
up,
from you. Wow.
yeah,
And he
and
did.
yeah, and he did, and he all he did was finish capitalizing our venture and ran it for 20 years before he retired. So yeah,
That was it. That was, you had already created that foundation for him. But what a great lesson. Like you said, it's almost like better than college,
oh
right? What
yeah,
you just
yeah,
did there. You learned
he-
everything that you needed to take the next step to continue. And then
yeah.
so had you now by that time you've obviously got your hands deep into the wine, bottles and different labels and this and that.
Yeah.
When do you start actually studying? Did you start studying for the sommelier through the court or
Back then, nobody
on then
knew
knew
that
what it
the
was? Yeah,
organization even existed. I studied because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be the
right.
best. I wanted to be, the expert. Again, because I look really, really young. I've always looked really young.
Yes.
But when you're 22 years old and trying to sell someone, a very expensive wine, they're looking at you like, how the heck could you possibly know anything
Hmm.
about wine? And so there was you had to overcome the immediate, the identity that people put on you that you're just some kid working behind the cash register. I can't tell
Yeah.
you the number of people that said, "So are you going to do this for the rest of your life?" And I'm like, "You mean own a
Yeah.
beverage store?" Like,
Isn't that what
no.
everybody wants to get to?
Yeah.
That sentence is so interesting. It's like when you're working at a tasting room or something, they're like, I can't wait to retire and come and do this. I'm like, dude, you don't know how much work this is. This is not retirement kind of scenario. So
Yeah.
funny, funny questions.
Yeah.
Um, but so now you're the head of the wine education at Southern Glazers,
Yeah.
and that's one of the biggest distributors in the world. Now, what does your role actually look like in a day? Kind of just pick a day kind of thing. How does it look for you? What do you do
Well,
during
the nice thing
your day?
about it, no 2 days are ever the same.
Mm,
But there are four, there's probably, I guess you can say there's four pieces to my role. One of the pieces is certification training. So we do all of our internal certification training. So I focus on WSET level one, level
wow. Okay.
two, level three, both wine and spirits. So those are what we do in-house with our APP. I also administer and deliver Wine Scholar Guild programs for the very advanced level people, as well as yeah, Wine Scholar Guild and WSAT. Those are the two the certification programs that we focus on. Okay, but
Right.
then on certifications, I also created a completely separate continued education program. So, like certification program, the big problem with them is it's one and done. You go through the program, you learn, and then now what, right?
You want to
Um,
keep it going
you
for
got to
these
keep it
people.
going.
Keep
So
it
I
going.
ended up creating with my colleague Sean Wright at the time a beverage alcohol sales education or
Right.
BASE, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
beverage the BASE is held the first three Tuesdays for wine every month. And then for spirits, we do the first three Wednesdays of every month. And so we have a whole calendar of events. There's basically 64 classes split between wine and spirits, and it's ongoing, right? And
Yeah.
we build
Yeah.
and build and build and build. And so you can earn credit hours. And so at the end of the year, instead of getting, well, I took a WSET level two certification. So we know you spent 6 weeks studying wine. All right,
Yeah.
now what do you do the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Base, you can at
Yeah.
the end of the year, you could say, well, if you do all of the base, which is a lot, that's 64 credit hours that
Yeah.
you're earning. So that's 64 hours you spent learning about a wide variety of topics, right? Most people take 20 to 30 credit hours, throughout the year, right? So, but
Hmm.
it's a great way to help consultants try to learn something every single day, right? Because if you're not learning a little bit every day, you're falling behind. Okay,
So
so that's
true. And it gives you information to talk about when
yeah.
you're trying to sell whatever you're selling. So that's really good, staying up to date and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then
Um,
the other two
yeah,
things I do, I collaborate with
yeah,
commercial and marketing to create targeted trainings. So let's
right.
say one division came to me, a couple months ago and said, "Hey, we need some help with our Italian sales." So I'll custom create a program,
Hmm.
specifically to what those divisions, actually need, right? And then
That's it.
occasionally I do key account training for national accounts and stuff like that. So, but
It's a
those are the
lot.
four pieces to the job. So
Four pieces, and I'm sure you don't have any free time. So, so I
yeah.
really appreciate you taking this time to talk to me. So that's pretty cool. What industry-wide trends are you noticing? I mean, you're right in the belly of this, from the vantage point of national distribution
So
as a distributor. Yeah.
yeah, distributor. So obviously, well, you can either view it from the standpoint that the sky is falling because wine has been down, 3% in 2023, and then 5% in 2024. If you look at total volume being down, and if
Yeah.
all you're doing is looking at total volume being down, you can panic, and a lot of retailers and restaurateurs are panicking. A lot of distributors are panicking. But if you really begin to break things down in the numbers to find out where those bright spots are, you can see that the wine industry is actually shifting, where for the
Right.
longest time, big bold reds and big full-bodied wines were what everybody was drinking. That's just not what's happening today. There's been a
Yeah.
seismic shift into lighter, crisper, fresher wines, whether it's light red wines or really crisp, fresh white wines. The Sauvignon Blanc phenomenon has not stopped. It's still one of the few categories that's actually growing. Rosé is still growing, especially in certain price points. Not all price points, certain price points, right? Sake had two really,
Yeah.
really big back-to-back years here. Obviously, it's growing off a small base, but it's still, these are the bright spots. And if you're a restaurateur or you're a retailer or a wholesaler and you're not adapting to these trends, you're actually losing out on revenue, right? As well as being able to dial in on the price points. And it appears, based on some of the data coming out of like IWSR, Nielsen's, and then even our own internal data, it shows that 15 to $40 price point seems to be the sweet spot where
Yeah.
it's actually still growing, or at least it's flat. It's not declining, right? So
Mhm.
that's really where you want to be. You want to be in those areas where you either got a small amount of growth or you're flat, so you're not moving in the wrong direction. So
So it's not the way that everybody's making it sound where everything's falling apart. And as you're, I mean, it's not what it used to be, but
yeah,
like you said, you look for those positive little
yeah.
areas and build on that, which it sounds like you guys are doing, which is fantastic. Um, now, I want to ask you a couple of kind of more fun questions. If you could pour one bottle of wine for any historical figure, who would it be? Dead or alive? Doesn't matter. When I say historical, I guess just anybody, dead or alive. Who would it be and what would you serve?
Well, I would probably want to sit down and have drinks with the late great Alex Lachine, because the very first wine book I ever read from cover to cover when I was 17 years old, and I actually, I'm in school. It's the first book I ever picked up and read without a teacher telling me you have to read a book. I just picked it up and
Oh,
started reading it. Next thing I know, I was through the entire book, and this is
oh
when I
my
began
gosh.
began to
Yeah.
discover that there were very special wines in my dad's store. And Alex Lachine's his writing really appealed to me. It was very light. It wasn't like any of the other wine books that I read. It was very conversational. It was not stuffy.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind matter of fact, here I'm, as he's traveling from region to region to region and kind of writing, it just made it so very easy to read. And that's when I began to realize, we had Chave Hermitage, we had Lafite and Mouton, and all of these, we had Domainat, and all of these great French wines in the store that
Yeah.
Alex, I'm reading a section, I'm like, oh, I think we have that label. And I'd run back and forth and look at those shelves to see,
Mm,
the stuff that he was talking about in the book and what was actually, on our store shelves. And I was just really taken in by just how he spoke of these great wines. And that's when I really began to start drinking some of these particular wines.
yeah.
Um,
You're like,
because
I'm not selling all of these. You're like, I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
sitting here after work just checking on these bottles.
So I would love to have an old bottle of, Lachine's, Bordeaux with Alex Lachine and sit down and just have a conversation with him about, the world of wine and maybe how the world of wine has changed since he's been in the
Yeah.
business.
He's the
Yeah.
guy. Okay, perfect. That's absolutely. So, what year was it that you actually passed the Master Sommelier exam? Was it in obviously in the United States, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where
Yeah,
was it? When was it?
2002 in San Francisco. Back then, it really wasn't held anywhere else but San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And this is the Americas, the Cours de Master Sommelier, the Americas. And what was the date that started the Americas chapter? I think it was,
uh,
I think 1960 something.
that
I
was
can't.
not the Americas. The Americas wasn't until 76 or 75.
Okay.
I'm a little, that information's a little rusty in there because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't.
yeah. No, I can't remember either. I can't remember. But did you pass it the first time?
No, 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 no.
Because it seems like all these amazing master psalms I've talked to, they're like, oh yeah, I had to take it 6 times, or there's a piece of the puzzle that I had to retake, or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's
and
so difficult.
again, back then, I mean, I wanted to pass. I mean, because the idea of doing something, you don't do it because to fail, but in reality, I didn't understand what it was that I had gotten into. In fact, they didn't even have an
Yeah,
intro course that was mandated back then. So I never took the
yeah,
intro. Well, they didn't have a certified because I helped create the certified with Doug Frost and Tim Glazer. Um, so none of that existed. I just walked right into the advanced exam. Had no idea what was going on, and I had never. I had only just started waiting tables, and I certainly didn't understand what white tablecloth fine dining service was. It was only casual, fine, upscale, casual service where you carrying glasses in your hand, dropping down a bottle, opening up the cork, bang, bang, bang,
yeah.
you're out of there. Right? It's
So it went straight into advanced at that point. There was like two
yeah.
levels. You
Yeah,
were advanced or master.
they had just started the intro,
My
but I never
gosh.
took the intro. I just applied because nothing was done online. You sent things snail mail. I picked up the phone and I called Wayne Belding. I said, "Hey Wayne, did you get my application?" He's like, "You sent me an application?" I said,
Wow, it was very intimate then. That's
"Yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty cool that you get a hold of people.
yeah."
Wow, wow, that's
And the
fantastic.
phone was wired to the wall back then too. So
Is there a vintage or label you cellared for years that you're like, I can see all those beautiful balls in the back. I don't think any of them are wine, but
those are all spirit.
there
Yeah.
it looks like spirits. But anything that you've cellared for years and you're just like waiting for the right moment to open?
I don't need a right moment to open anything. I
Yeah,
will
I'm gonna
open
drink it.
and I got a lot of really cool wine in the cellar. It's just give me a reason to open it. In fact, a lot of times when we do dinner parties, I'm like, just there you see the two
Grab
wine
it.
cellars back there. There's about 250 bottles in those two cellars alone. Like just open up a bottle and pull whatever you want out. I don't care what it is. I don't
Oh
care
my gosh.
valuable it is, how rare it might be. It doesn't matter to me. It was purchased to drink, and if you think it's interesting, we're going to open it up and drink it. And if you don't like
I,
it,
I
then
want
I'll
to be
drink
at
it.
your house. Yeah. I want
If
to
you
be
don't
at
like
your
it,
house. That sounds really good.
yeah.
No, I
So
mean, if you could just grab those balls, and I'm sure you've got some good ones. I mean, I'm sure people gift them to you as well, right? You and just in the
yeah,
industry
you gift things, you
stuff and
purchase things. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. I mean, it's probably the from a sentimental point of view.
yeah.
the most valuable wine I have in my cellar, not dollars and cents, but sentimentally,
Yeah.
is I still have about 4 bottles of 1985 Robert Mondavi Reserve. Okay. And so this was one of the first wines I ever tasted with my father, and it was on a futures program, the only futures program they ever ran, which was then made illegal in Ohio.
Yeah.
But so I got to taste it, the barrel samples with my dad, and we were
Hmm.
talking. It's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I think it's really good. Why don't we get a case? And so we bought a
Yeah.
case, but you had to wait 2 years to get the case. Okay. 2 years later, the case was delivered 3 weeks after my father had passed away. Okay.
Oh no, no.
So
I was hoping you were going to tell me you both drank it together.
no,
A
no.
few bottles of
And
it.
that's why it means so much to me is
Yeah.
because
That's
you know,
sentimental.
yeah,
That's
we got to buy it together,
yeah.
and then it wasn't there. So, I open them
Oh
up
my
occasionally,
gosh.
over the years for different reasons. But
Yeah.
every time I've opened it, it's definitely one of the best California cabs I've ever had, and that's not
Oh my
just because of
gosh.
what happened, but it's really the '85 Mondavi Reserve is just
That's the
fantastic.
best one you feel out of all everything you've tasted. I mean, it's
Yeah,
great to know that. Yeah. I mean, that is fantastic.
yeah.
Now, you've got all these beautiful bottles in there. Say somebody who's just wanting to do a budget-friendly wine collection. What is your advice? How do they start with something like that?
They start by realizing that they have to understand what it is that they like about
Mm,
wine. Okay.
mm,
If they're just buying wine because they want to impress friends that they have wine, they're probably not going to be really happy with what they end up buying, right? They have to figure out what it is that they like. And that comes by understanding grape varieties and then understanding how those grape varieties are shaped by the place and the winemaker. Okay.
yeah,
And and that's really where they have to start. And if they want to make it budget friendly, their dollars are going to go much, much further if they're willing to step outside their comfort zone and buy things other than Cabernet and Chardonnay and Merlot. So you can get some incredible white wine and red wine out of Italy, out of Spain. I mean, the stuff coming out of Spain. In fact, I would probably venture to guess that uh, you know, f- uh, for dollar quality ratio, I would probably put my money on Spain being the best dollar to value ratio for wine is coming out of Spain right now, right?
wow,
Um,
okay,
and then certainly, Italy, especially in southern areas, and those with those obscure grape varieties, the indigenous grape varieties. You can just get a lot of really great wine if you're willing
hmm
to experiment, you're willing to step outside your comfort zone.
yeah,
And then, work with a buyer that really understands what it is that you like and what you don't like, right? And then they can help you educate you on specific grape varieties that you're buying that you seem to like. And once they
yeah,
know a couple of grape varieties, a really good
yeah,
som, really good store steward, once they sell you several bottles of wine and you come back and say, yeah, I love that wine, then
yeah.
they can really begin to branch out and point you into different directions of other stuff that is a similar style. Maybe it might be more tannic, maybe it might be more acidic, maybe it might be more floral, whatever. There might be some slight differences to it, but they can fit your price point and really help you create a diverse selection of different wines that you have to choose to open up.
Right. I love that answer. But what is the first thing they should look at? Like, for somebody who doesn't really know too much about wine, is it like, okay, I like white wine or I like red wine? How do they start like saying, oh, I like the citrusy smell in this white wine, or I like, you know, the berry smell in this red wine. Are you saying like kind of just taste it, talk about what really excites you, and then talk to a som or a really good wine steward, or
Yeah.
even in a restaurant, ask their advice, and then start getting a few different ones to try,
Yeah,
basically.
yes. I mean,
Yeah.
you
And
have
just
to
keep
you
playing
have to
with it.
start somewhere. So if you don't know anything,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to either go to a tasting where you get to try, and this is the other problem is people are afraid to taste wine. New drinkers are afraid to try 4 or 5 different wines or 10 different wines. The more you try, the more
Yeah.
you can understand what you like and don't like. But if you're afraid to taste it, you're never going to be able to, because they're like, well, I don't want to get a glass. Just get an ounce. And you don't even
Right.
have to drink it. Spit it
Yeah.
out. it
Yeah.
out, taste it, and then dump it out. It's okay. We'll get you more wine. All right.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And I think a lot of people don't understand what a flight is all about.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Like it's difficult to explain. It takes a bit. I try and teach that in my little 2-hour wine class that I teach
Yeah.
people coming into the area. But a lot of people do think like it's a bar. So they're like, I'll have a glass of this, I'll have that. But like you said, if you try different ones on a flight, get a taste of, see what you actually like. And then going to the restaurant world, I want to ask you, what are 3 questions a restaurant guest could ask a sommelier on the floor to get a really good bottle? Again, as you and I know, it's a lot about pricing, and hopefully they've got a budget with that. But there's so many options again, right? Like go
Yeah.
for a Malbec instead of a cab or whatever.
Correct.
Um, what are
So
some questions they could ask?
I would like to rephrase the question because the
Hmm.
customer should be asking questions. The customer should be saying, "This is what I want," and the SOM should be asking the questions to clarify and make sure they
Right.
understand exactly what that guest likes. And so, first and foremost, and I do this I mean, myself. Like, when I sit down at a restaurant, I don't want to look at the wine list. Okay, I
No, you've
really.
seen enough. Yeah.
Yeah, seen enough, and it just takes too long. I might have conversations with everybody, and I'll say to Sam, I want a bottle of wine
Mm.
between 150 and $175 a bottle, or maybe it's 75 and $100 a bottle, whatever it happens to be for that particular restaurant, what I feel like spending that night. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell them I want something that's tart, low. Maybe I want something that's more tart that doesn't have a lot of oak on it. And I'll give them a specific style that I'm looking for. I'm like, go get it, right, and
Yeah.
then come back, okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they listen, and sometimes they bring me Cabernet, and I'm like, that does not fit
Not
anything.
what I was asking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
clarify, right? But it's really, but this is what, and if it's a really new consumer that doesn't know a lot, then basically you're probably going to be asking, I want something that's not too strong, not too tannic, right?
That's
And,
it.
and,
Yeah.
and the Psalm should be able to read and ask some again, clarifying questions to be able to say, all right, we can't get too adventurous. It's got to be something soft, probably something that's, more fruit forward to get them into enjoying what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Asking the right questions and sort of pulling out the information
information, yeah.
from the person, as opposed to the guest sitting at the restaurant trying to, try and get that
Yeah.
information. You're absolutely correct. So that's what a good psalm would be able to do for you at a restaurant, right?
Mhm.
Um, And so, I wanted to just a few little small questions. I have a feeling that you like champagne. Am I right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say red, white, or sparkling if you could pick one for the rest of your life. Um, I think you're gonna pick one
Well,
of
here's the
those.
problem. You
Mm.
cannot live on sparkling wine or red wine or white wine alone because you need something before dinner, something,
Right?
start the dinner, something after dinner, so
Right.
you need three styles, right? So for me, it would be champagne. I mean,
Hmm.
champagne, not
Number
not something.
one. Yeah.
Champagne for the sparkling wine. It's going to be Grosses Gewächs Riesling for the white wine, and it's going to be Barolo Nebbiolo for the red wine, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
God. I
That's
love
that's
it.
that's
I
so
love
that's
it.
what I'll be drinking. Yeah.
Those are all you take into your island, whatever, if you're
Yeah,
stuck on the
yeah,
island,
yeah. In
that's what you
fact,
take.
I just celebrated my 60th birthday on
Happy
Saturday.
birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
And so what did I have? I had a 3 liter of Robert Moncoux, Le Blanc, Blanc de Blanc,
Oh,
champagne. We had a three
yeah.
liter of Raybolt's, I can never pronounce the vineyard site, Castiongate GG Riesling, and we had a 3 liter bottle of Luigi Einaudi Ni Canubi from '98, right? That
My
we
God.
just drained. And then I just opened
How
up.
many people, can I ask?
We had about 28 people, and we went through
Okay.
about 34 bottles of wine, 2 bottles of mezcal, and a bottle of vodka. Yeah.
Quite a party. Okay. I like that. Fantastic. Well, I saw a picture of you on Instagram looking very happy. So you had a
Yeah, it was.
bottle in your hand, and I thought, yeah, that was cool. Um, What is your favorite non-alcoholic beverage to drink?
Uh, so
Interesting.
really, I I don't drink much of anything other than water, wine,
Yeah. Okay.
spirit. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
it.
I drink a lot of, sparkling water, San Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Any any kind of water that's really minerally and salty and that's kind of sparkling water I drink. I drink a lot of it, so whether
That's
it's
it.
Go, San Pellegrino, Saratoga, they're all really, intensely mineral styles of
You
water. So
like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And I kind of asked you about the obviously the classes you're teaching and keeping the salespeople up to date. Are you also, as a master sommelier, is this part of your lifestyle, kind of mentoring younger somms?
I've mentored my entire life, even before I became an MS. Anybody that was interested in learning and developing their talents and their skills, it's part of what hospitality is all about, is to give back whatever you have. I mean, I had already gained success and was, doing very well before being in the program, and was always happy to help anybody, so long
Love
as
it.
they have to put the effort out. I'm not going to go out and
Yes.
seek you out, but if you put the effort
No.
out, the phone, you call me. I'm going to find time to help and mentor you. I am not going to teach anybody how to pass an exam, though. If you're looking to just pass an exam for the sake of the pass, I can't help you. I will teach you how to taste. I will teach you how to taste, so you will become a better salesperson. You will understand what's in that glass, and you'll be able to break it down and have a better conversation with your customer, right? I will teach you hospitality. I will help you understand hospitality, what it means to be in service to someone else, to help you remove your personal biases and open up your ears, so you can engage, right? And with the younger generation, how to look people in the eye and
Right.
and understand what it is that's going on. Can you read their facial expressions to realize they're telling me that they like this wine, but their facial expression is saying they don't like it. And are you going to be able to own that situation and say, you know what? How about if I remove that bottle of wine? I'm going to get you something else, right?
Yeah.
That's hospitality, right? Being able to
That's
read
it.
that customer and understand that they are not satisfied, and going that extra distance to make sure that they are satisfied, right?
That's exactly it. And you just said something really interesting. Generations obviously look at hospitality and I think the respect thing a little bit differently each generation. And the younger generation now, I'm not saying Gen Z, but the younger generation, are they looking to you like they do the psalm thing a little bit different to, say, millennials or the previous generation? Or what are the main, is that the main thing you're seeing? Like the figuring out, looking at the person and understanding what they need? Or is there anything else that you're noticing is kind of different with the Gen Z psalms, if
Well,
there are any?
the biggest difference with the entire hospitality industry in general is everything is about insta fame. Nobody wants to do it if they're not going to get insta fame. Everything is about their social media identity. And if you're more concerned about your social media identity than you are about your guest or your customer, you will not do the right thing. Okay. To do the right thing means to be able to stand in the shoes of that customer, empathize with the situation, realize that even if they're not right, they're not happy. So, how do I help make this right so they are happy, right? And it's a really, really difficult thing. Because social media is destroying social skills. Okay, social
Yes.
skills are
Yeah.
cannot happen through they can't happen through Zoom. They can't happen through a post. They can only happen when two humans and their energies connect. And this, I'm speaking as a yogi now, okay, because I'm a big yogi. Your energies can only connect when you
Mhm.
are in the same room with that person. You can feel, yeah, I can feel everybody's energy
That's
when,
it.
no matter what I'm doing, right? And you can feel that there's anger over here, there's joy over here. You can feel those energies
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
around you. Once you're willing to tap into them, Um, and yeah, unfortunately, today people are afraid to tap into that. They don't want to tap into that. They're again, they're just really focused on their image and what's driving clicks on social media, and that's not what hospitality is all about.
Yeah.
Hospitality is about being in the background, doing the right thing when nobody can see it, and doing the right thing when everybody can see it. So.
That's fantastic. And so with that, I'm thinking you're saying that you're not too eager about AI
I
coming
mean,
into a lot of this.
I enjoy, I think there's a lot of benefit to technology when it is used as a tool to service someone else or to make me better at what I do. So I use AI a lot,
Yeah.
especially when I'm doing uh, seminars. I have lots of material created, but sometimes it needs to be updated, right? So I can either go into 1,000 different websites, or I can use Grok or a Copilot or whatever, and I can start
Hmm.
asking a series of questions to help make sure that my material is up to date. The problem with
Yes.
AI is it lies, okay? And if you don't have a really good sense of what you're talking about, AI is going to give you misinformation, okay? Because I bust Copilot and ChatGPT and Grok all the time,
Yeah.
giving me wrong information. I'm like, that's not true. Please go double. Where was your source? Where did you source this from?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the source, but no, you
Yeah.
can't use that source. It's not credible, right? Because they
Yeah.
don't know what's a credible source and what's not
Well,
a credible.
it's a learning, it's still learning and it wants
Yeah,
the feedback. So but a lot of people are kind of scared that I mean personally I just it's got to be the one-on-one, like you said, the conversation's got to be there and the person making you feel a certain way, right?
yeah,
So
correct.
that's such a big part of hospitality. So
So,
so so you know,
just to go on AI will acquire a tremendous amount of knowledge. It will never have wisdom.
yes,
Wisdom is something that only humans can possess because it is our learned experience of failure, right? Or it is our experience of putting wine
perfect.
and food in our mouth. AI will never, ever be able to experience that. So we can't take our jobs unless, of course, we allow hospitality to absolutely die, in which case then nobody's worth anything because AI can do anything except provide hospitality. It will never be able to provide hospitality.
There you go. There you have it. Keep studying. Go for your Master Sommelier exam. You've always got a job.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for hanging out. Beyond the Pour is our little podcast, and I'm so excited to grow this and learn more. Um, and it was so educational talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Neil.
it.
Nope, I
Hopefully, I'll see
appreciate it.
you soon. Thank you
Yes,
so
you will.
much.
All right. Thanks. We'll see
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.